Aries, welcome. This is January 2024, and this is for your sun, moon, or rising. You can listen to all three. It's a month in which you're going to experience a lot of productivity and creativity in the downtime or alone time of your life. But most importantly, you are off the hook at last. The nodes of fate are leaving the sign of Aries, Libra, and moving into another part of your sky. And this is going to feel like a huge energy difference in the month of January. You've been in the celestial hot seat for 18 months, really, ever since the spring of 2023, but more accurately with those nodes of fate, July of 23. And now you can take a sigh of relief. I want to encourage you to focus on what makes you feel connected to the divine, where your creativity lies, how being alone or spending time alone by choice can be extraordinarily soul nourishing and healing for you. And that is in your sky. That said, some changes may emerge in the month of January into February, actually, regarding matters of your home. And that for some of you could even be a desire to travel far from home, or even to buy or sell home or move home. We'll talk about that as we break down the month ahead. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, the whole sign house system. You'll get a lot of fixed stars and minor asteroids content on my channel. Those asteroids are the devil is in the details. If you want to buy my 2025 all signs bundle or individual forecast so you can time your best life throughout the entire year of 2025, not just January, it's in the description box. I still have my Santa Claus ho 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 New Year's sale on, and you might want to get that product. It is literally a 2-hour video, a PDF download. You can download the video, the audio from the video. You can watch it on a hidden link, and it's a navigational tool for all of 25. I've broken it down into quarters, and that is never going to be on YouTube. And that is a part of my yearly fundraiser for timestampers and new laptops and ring lights and video editors, etc. Thank you. I'm one of you. I have an Aries sun and a moon. You're listening for your sun if you're listening for matters of career and purpose. You're listening for your rising sign because it's basically all about your life in general as you play this character in the matrix called you and your rising sign. And the moon can connect you to matters to your home, your nest, where you live, and how you feel about emotionally, how you feel and think about your life. You know, what's going on? Do you have a good vibe about it? Are you feeling like rattled? So I feel like right now I'm so looking forward to the node of fate moving off of the Aries zone of the sky on January the 11th. Holy man. As well as getting a little bit of Venus love in the bed pleasures of the 12th house. We'll be talking about that. The way I do this video for each month, and please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and help me get to the 100,000 subscribers. I'd so appreciate you to help my channel thrive. But anyway, the energy here of the month, I start off by talking about planetary movements through the sky. Where's Mercury going, and where's Mars going, and what's Venus doing? And then we boil it down or move it into less of the planetary motions. And then we go through the chronological points of each week and day of January that I think are important enough to bring to our attention. Now, I had gotten in the habit of trying to share the image for you, and I will, but I want you to understand one thing. I can't rotate the dial once I'm settled in here because we have something called the motion of the heavens and the earth relative to the sun. And I continually have to recalibrate the Aries Eastern horizon. So it's going to be a static image, but some of you asked me to go back to this format. So I'm going to do that, but do not ask me to rotate the dial. It's way too much work. But understand that in general, you're seeing where the planets are. I might move it a little bit forward to get Venus into the right place. Now, let's talk about planetary motion and where everybody's going to be going, right? Let's start with the very basics. My neighbor just slammed her window shut. She's really, really gnarly. Oh my God, she's so gnarly. Because she hears me talking in my dining room, right? I mean, but still, I'm not yelling. Let's get going. We're going to start talking about each planetary motion. Let's start with Mercury. So Mercury will be moving January 8th to the 28th kind of thing. I mean, really most of the month, 27th, through a sign of Capricorn. And you can see he's getting ready to leave Sag, where he's been since November due to retrogradation. We're also tired of Mercury in Sagittarius. I am anyway. Let's not go into it. you're going to have Mercury moving through Capricorn up here, and he will be here, as I said, January 8th to the 27th. Let's just keep it simple. It's an incredibly useful time for career and reputation matters that require you to negotiate, make deals, sign contracts, go for job interviews, sell the boss on your bestest proposal for a raise or promotion. And Mercury is very commercially successful in this sign. We call him like a total like art of the deal guy in the sign of Capricorn. So keep that in mind, because I know it's not the season necessarily January where you're ambitious about your career, just getting over 2024, but you can have some great career success if you do anything to announce to the world, like you have a career path on social media, or you have a career path that involves being in front of people. That's also going to be very favorable to you, and you're going to enjoy that story. In fact, it will be extremely positive later in the month when Mercury will trine Uranus on the wealth star Algol, and you're going to get that down the pipeline. According to my notes, that's going to be closer to the third week of the month of January. And so you can experience a lot of excitement, a lot of earnest financial excitement and increase here in the last week of January in the career and earnings story, and some surprises, but possibly quite positive. Venus is, of course, the benefic planet, the lesser benefic, and she has been moving through your 11th house, which might have made you quite sociable over the December season, spending more time with friends and doing things in social settings. As well, she may have given you a little bit of a boost in your career gains. But then she's leaving behind this part of the sky on January 3rd, and on January 3rd moves forward into the sign of Pisces. For her exaltation is here, and this indicates that you're going to really enjoy your bed pleasures. She's here till February 3rd, but you could have exquisite enjoyment of the company of females in quiet and salutudinous ways, or you might have exquisite, exalted enjoyment of foreign shore land and travel. I will be off to Mexico with a girlfriend, and I'm looking forward to it. My Aries sun is delighted. So, exquisite enjoyment, though, of solitude. Venus is a higher love, higher mind, higher beauty, higher art, higher harmony in the sign of Pisces. And she's looking for the things that you do in your quiet downtime to be really meeting the needs of your soul. So solitude is creative, solitude is enjoyable, solitude is pleasurable, solitude is enlivening your spirituality. And so there's a feeling as she moves through this sign that you can use that to your desires, time to journal, time to write, time to do something with your art. January 3rd to February the 3rd. So it's about a month. Now, she'll be back here, by the way, March 27th to May 1st because of retrogradation. So we will be talking about her again as she returns to this part of your sky, the end of March, all of April. Okay, so that's another story we'll be getting into. When we look at Mars, he's retrograding and back ending out of the sign of Leo into the sign of Cancer. Now, let's talk about this just for a minute. He will enter into the part of the sky that represents your home, property, land, and real estate on January the 6th. Just before he does that, he will be opposite Pluto. I'll cover that in the chronological section. So he's kind of going backwards with a bang. And then he heads into the 4th house, which is where you may want to be considering January the 6th right through to April the 18th. What the heck Mars is doing in this backtrack to your 4th house, because he does turn around the 3rd week of February, but there's a lot going on here. It can be construction in the home, buying and selling a home, changing your home, traveling far away into far off foreign shores from your home. These are things Mars does. He acts like an adventurer, an expat. He, would spend some significant time away from your home. He separates you from your home. Now, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Like I'll be spending some time in the United States with my partner, and because he's American and I'm Canadian. So there's that sense of me being away from home as an Aries sun and moon, right? Moon is the home. Now, if you have anything going on in your family with your mother or your family of origin members, this can be strife and conflict. And if you're living alone and living in a home with other people, roommates, family, again, this can be strife and conflict and disagreements and arguments with the members of that group that you live with. So be careful about that. And, Mars is also if you go back to September 4th to November 4th, he was moving through your fourth house as well. So this is not the first pass. He's going back to finish up loose ends. So let's just say, keep your temper cool, or the tempers of the people you live with should be, bring the temperature down. Even if it's water, you get into boggy, wet, hot, moist arguments. Be careful there. Jupiter just hangs out still until February. He turns direct at 11 degrees in your third house. Excellent for writing. Excellent for online social media work, especially when he goes direct February 4th. Excellent for travel and blessed, safe travel, especially to travel to places you've been before. So we'll just see Jupiter continuing, still retrograde in your third house. Saturn, of course, is still also hanging out since 2023 March in your 12th house, and he doesn't go very far. We've got an exceptional and rare event coming up in April with the North Node and Saturn. I can't wait to cover that on this channel. But in the meantime, this is just Saturn doing Saturn during the month of January, indicating he is here trying to help you get disciplined, focused, and structured with digital income, borderless revenue, and money from foreign shores, or go deeper into your spiritual path, or constrain and release and undo addictions and self-undoing. This is your taskmaster in the house of being your own worst enemy. You can't get rid of him. You can't get rid of him until 2026 full on. He also likes you to be alone, and your solitude and aloneness should be productive, deeply wholesome, and spiritual. Although some of you, if you're not used to being alone or don't like your aloneness, might have found this to be isolating, right? Might have felt like you're isolated, but ultimately he's sagacity. So tune in. All right, so that's the overview of the planetary placements. As I mentioned in the beginning, the North and South Node will shift on January 11th and through to midsummer of 2026, be sitting in 12 and 6 for you. This is going to amplify your creativity and your alone time. It's going to help you move into a greater connection to spirituality, God, and maybe spiritual liberation. It's going to bring your attention to the deep soul work that you're here to do, including Akashic records, past life clearings, ancestral clearings. It's going to amplify career gains if you make that money from far off foreign shores and distant countries. So international borderless income and revenue is an example that will bring more worldly success or financial increase if that's the means by which you make your money. Some of you may also travel extensively to far off distant lands and shores with this kind of transit during the next year and a half. But good news, the heat is off of you. There are no more eclipses in Aries. You don't have to continually try to be the next best thing since sliced bread, as worldly Rahu tried to expand your worldly success in your life. Now they're going to break it down into chronological orders, and we have a couple of moons too. We have a full moon in Cancer, and we have a new moon in Aquarius this month. So we're going to talk about the moons as we go in chronological order. You might want to get a pen or paper, but otherwise, I'm sorry, I don't have enough funds at this point to hire someone to edit every one of these videos and give you stamps or visual cues. So try your best to, come back and listen again, or save this or download it, or take some notes. So first of all, everyone in astrology is worried about January 3rd because that's when Mars and Pluto will be completely opposite each other. We'll see this again April 27th in the signs of Aquarius and Leo. Mars is back hovering in the area of the sky he was on the election day, for example, in the United States, right? But in this regard, we haven't had this opposition in the world yet. And for you, it can be a massive fracture or blow up or detonation of intensity, power, and anger, or ruthless brutality regarding a relationship with a romantic partner, a lover, a child, a friend. You may also have a determination. This is also very much about when we have extreme focus, extreme determination, and extreme action with that determination. So you might be very determined to get something done that is fated. You see that little rectangle that's destined, and you want to get it accomplished. And that can be an artistic or creative or entrepreneurial bit of business. Okay. Otherwise, be careful for some intense explosive energies with that child, or caution your child, which I will, any of your children, to be careful that day. Mars in the house of children opposite Pluto. You just want them to be cautious about, anything in their life on the 3rd of January, a day before and a day after. Now, when we move to January 4th to the 6th, we're going to see the sun sextiling Saturn. The sun in the 10th house of career flows to a hardworking Saturn in the backroom deals and negotiations, but also digital income and revenue. There can be some solid gains in your career because you've been disciplined and focused, and you feel this great surge of accomplishment and success January 4th to the 6th. On January 10th to the 14th, Mars will trine Neptune. Very beautiful energy. It's very much about accomplishing something of a higher spiritual value for yourself. It's spiritual warrior energy. Now, Mars will still be retrograde. He'll be in your fourth house when we get to this time frame. I'll try to advance the chart, but just trust me, it will be difficult to keep doing that. And Mars trining Neptune, it's going to ignite your action and willpower coming from a kind of higher vision. And the higher vision comes out of the house of sleepy dreams, trance states, shamanic journeys, 12th house, or just something you concoct in your inner solitude. And Mars is like gangbusters to go for it, make a decision, do something important January 10th to the 14th. It's exact on the 12th. You know, because Mars is retrograde through a part of the sky that he traveled at the end of October, go back to the last week of October, because last week of October, first 4 days of November, this is the same characteristically, energetically similar area that he was traveling already. So there's going to be something about saying, oh yeah, at the end of October, I was doing X, Y, Z, you know, because now you're back in the thick of it. You're readdressing that and you're reestablishing connection to Neptune to go forward on something. Something could be about your home. It could be about travel from far away from home into foreign lands that are dreamy and mystical and enchanting. You could be traveling in this case for romantic love reasons with Venus here. So look to that January 10th to the 14th. If you're not actually traveling, maybe taking the time to get your tickets planned, etc. On the same time frame that we're talking about, you know, around, you know, the January 10th to the 14th, you'll also notice that the wealth star Algol is getting some love from the sun. And that's an indication that you could have a sudden surge of financial gain or surprise in the work that's quite positive. So work and financial gains that surge would be how I would code that for you. There is a full moon coming through on the 13th of the month, and that's going to be in the sign of Cancer. Full moons bring something to fulfillment, completion, or fullness, like a ripening or harvesting. A completion energy on a full moon doesn't happen on the day of the full moon. This moon on the 13th can take up to 6 months to show you what it's truly about. Certainly pay attention to the 2 weeks that follow. All full moons are seeded by a new moon. What new things did you initiate in your life back in June that are now coming to fulfillment in January? Or it could have been July. The date, I don't have the date handy, but the summertime, June, July, new moon in Cancer, and now a full moon to fulfill something here. You know, part of the full moon here could also be a fullness regarding things to do with fertility. And if you are wanting to create a baby, the 6 months that follow could be very auspicious for fertility. And if you are also someone who may think that you might want to have grandchildren, it's out of your hands, but certainly Mars going back and forth between the house of children and now a full moon engagement as well could indicate a grandchild coming in the 6 months that follow or being announced that there's one conceived. Finally, a full moon will happen, of course, with Mars in the fourth house. And when you think of a full light, full moon and Mars cutting and severing, some of you will look at this in hindsight and say 6 months after that full moon, I moved my home, I changed my home. That's going to be a classic one for a lot of you. Now, January 14th to the 16th, we see Venus squaring Jupiter. The two of them are benefics. And so even in a square, which is considered to be difficult, we don't worry about it as much, right? A good planet talking to a good planet in an angle that can be challenging. But the 14th to the 16th square between the two planets could indicate a need to take direct action and make sudden decisions. And you know, actions and decisions are the nature of squares. And Venus is in the 12th house where she's doing her let me lie on my bed and have some pleasure, or let me go off to a foreign land and just saturate myself in love and beauty. That's fine. But then she's having a tangle with, you know, the planet Jupiter, still retrograde in the house of travel. There may be some delays in travel, some need to change plans to do with travel, some disruption of those things, and you need to make some decisions and actions based on this disruption. Or a writing project that you've been working on, or communications project in a quiet backroom deals and negotiations house all by yourself. You suddenly have to come to a critical decision about what to do with this creative or online project. Let's say that you could have some expenditures you didn't expect, because Venus is in the house of expenditures, the 12th house, and she's exalted and she's like biting off more than she can. She's spending more than she can chew. And Jupiter retrograde, Mr. Bounty isn't in his best form for the details. And you find out the hotel you booked is 3 times as more expensive than you thought it would be. Or, a ticket plan is going to cost a lot of money. And you might make some decisions based on this knowledge. And when are we talking about? Yes, January 14th to 16th, and Sun opposite Mars. Now, the Sun will be opposite Mars when we get to this week of January 14th through the 16th. When the Sun is opposite Mars, we're going to look at this as a time of tension in work and home. Probably, it depends if you have a job or a boss or accountability to your career. There's something going on in the home that's demanding your attention. And it's a conflict between what must be attended to, decisions and actions about your home, or a conflict with somebody in your home and home life connected to your career and your career success, which seems to be doing very well for you, Aries. I mean, there's a lot of good energy when the Sun's up there in a flow, of course, to Venus in your 12th. So your career is doing nicely. And some home-based tension is here for sure. Don't forget, Mars likes to travel from home. And again, some of this whole January 14th to 16th is going to be travel disruption related, probably. Now, on January the 18th, 19th, and 20th, you're going to see Venus come into a conjunction to Saturn. And that is, love is hard, love endures, money is difficult, money feels hard. Okay, those are ways those two planets come together. That's a fast short code for that. However, Venus and Saturn actually get along in ancient astrology for a lot of reasons I don't have time to explain. And they're collaborating and merging their forces together. Venus has merged with Saturn here once a year, like back since 2023, this year, and one time next year. And so this infusion of Venusian and Saturnian energy is a cycle that you've been through before, right? When Saturn was here in 1993, 1994, 1995 in the sign of Pisces. So you went through this before. You can go back and see what was happening in your life to compare. But in the shorter term, in this window of time, you may be making some kind of disciplined and structured focus around matters to do with your food style, to do with your addictions, maybe joining a new community for, addiction control that has lasting results. You may be coming into some kind of decision or action to do some creative artistic project that's going to take you a lot of time, and you've got the long game in mind, and you're starting out with something new because it's a new beginning. It's like a new moon, and it could take up to a year for this project or this creative artistic endeavor to be complete. And if you're single looking for love, love endures and love can last with this, with somebody that you meet in a foreign shore, foreign land, and through the mechanism of travel. It's really a good energy for that as well. Now, also, Venus, as she conjuncts Saturn, you'll notice flows over to Mercury. For one thing, this is extremely positive for work and career and reputation, flowing to the goddess of money exalted with Saturn for reliable and durable and realistic. So there's some kind of new edge in the work or some significant boost in your work to do with it's understood as incremental and long game, new structures regarding work and success. Especially if you make digital income, borderless income, international revenue, the 12th house can mean that. But it's definitely a positive financial boost connected to work. And you know that it will last. It's tempered, it's moderate, and it's reliable and sustainable. Financial increase connected to your work. As I said, your career looks good on you in this month. On January 21st to the 22nd, Mars will sextile Uranus, which is on algal. So, you know, Mars is heading backwards and Uranus is also heading backwards, and they're both going to talk to each other here. We can try to see if I can get as far as the 21st without losing. Maybe I pinned this to Aries. Maybe I pinned the chart. Normally by now I'm losing it all. But when we get to the 21st, you're going to notice that here, Mars at 23, algal at 23, synergy, sextile, positive energy. And you could finally say, if you're going to change your home, because Mars isn't sure he wants to stay there, or travel far from home, or, you know, do some construction in the home, there's some financial surprises here, but they're positive. Or there's some unexpected financial gain connected to something to do with your mom or family of origin or legacy wealth up your line, and a nice little pop in the financial matters. You know, Mars is about change and directional change and decisions and actions, and Uranus is about surprises, and yet it connects to the money story as well. But it is indeed positive. And at the same time, you'll notice that Mars talking to Uranus is opposite Mercury, and that's called a wedge. Wedges are very powerful, like door stoppers of the universe, but they send kinetic jolts of energy to algal, fixed star algal, wealth star, among other things, on shock and surprise Uranus. Even though we can say that this is a malefic planet, Mars, in detriment, we can't decide to ignore a wedge. A wedge is going to bring something good: career, commercial success, some good news in your career connected to money, some changes around home or travel connected to career and money, surprises. This is exciting. Write it down, January 21 to 22. This is not something that you should ignore. It's exciting. It's exciting. January 25th to the 27th, Venus trines Mars. The cosmic lovers are going to have a sweet waltz. This is where they're cooperating in a trine, which brings luck and opportunity. Venus, 22 degrees of Pisces. Mars, 22 degrees of your fourth house. A note, Venus is in an enclosure between malefic Saturn and Rahu, and therefore she's in a bit of a straitjacket here. So it's not as great as it could be, but it's still a water trine between these planets, forming a mini grand trine to Uranus. Good news financially, foreign shores, foreign lands, home. That's the code. That's exciting. I don't know what it is. Venus's enclosure here between the malefics just mean there's a delay in seeing this play out fully, that you have knowledge of how this positive development is happening, and it really becomes more active once she gets outside of this enclosure between Saturn and the node of fate, which I do believe is going to happen later on. I had my malefic enclosure notes handy yesterday. Let's see if I can find them for a webinar I was doing online. Do I have malefic enclosure notes handy? Let's see. I might have tossed my notes out. So let's just put it this way. It still looks good in the short term as well. And Venus keeps getting malefically enclosed. We'll be doing a whole archetype video on that because of the retrograde coming up. Moving on, when we go into January 28th to the 31st, Sun trines Jupiter. Nothing wrong with that. Sun flowing to, oh, did I say so? Yeah, I did give you the delineation. So the Sun will trine Jupiter. So this is career gains, career success. Sun is pretty close to Neptune, Pluto up there. Look at this. So we get closer to the end, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, and we're going to notice that the Sun at 9 degrees, Jupiter 11, it gets even better and better as we go 28th to the 31st. This is where you're going to find energy of this, new beginnings, because there's a new moon forming here. We'll talk about the new moon as well on January 29th. We may as well just go right into the new moon. So we have a new moon up here, and it's going to flow to Jupiter. It's a very blessed and beautiful new moon. We're all going to say yes. It's a new beginning, a new start in your gains of your career house. And sometimes that means you change the way you make the gains, right? So you might change your job. You might change your strategies or formulas for career success. A new beginning can be new friendships. It can be a new relationship to social groups or social circles. It could be new dreams and long-range goals and visions and plans that are being hatched. But because it's connected to Jupiter, it's also very fortunate. And Jupiter is retrograding All right, moving backwards. And he is getting some support from Lord Mercury in your 11th house of good spirit. And this is indicating that Mercury tells Jupiter what to do because Jupiter's in his house. And so this is exciting. I think that maybe you're going to look at this and say, wow, I'm going to get some phone call, text messages, or emails. This is Mercury that involve online, social media, career gains, allies and benefactors. Someone in a high place wants to help me. But this is not just the day of, it can be the 31st when this happens on the moon, 29th, 29th, 30th, 31st, around there. But it can also be something that unfolds over 6 months. And it bakes in a very positive development with travel and social media and writing projects and allies and benefactors and social influence and different or better or new career gains, especially Pluto, which brings riches. And the last thing I want to mention here is that you might notice that Venus has gotten herself all snuggled up to Neptune. And this is a dreamy, enchanted, spiritual soulmate, twin flame vibe. Singletons, go travel and meet someone. If you're with someone, it can really open up a really spiritual experience or a deep spiritual union with your own soul. I certainly would harness it for bed pleasures. And so this is around the 31st, but it will still be playing out until about February the 3rd. And so it's a really good time for dreamy romance, spa time, sensual romantic time with someone you love. So you can plan for that as well in the cozy quietude of your spa room or hotel or bedrooms. And just enjoy that. It's good for creativity, especially beautiful creative ideas with rainbows and unicorns coming out of your head. I really hope you Aries are going to have a wonderful January 2025. I'm going to be putting out my video soon of my big predictions for 2025. I didn't do that last year. I really should have because, I just should have. And I'm really excited about that because of the AI, because of the bots, because of the drones, because of everything. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be important. I'm so excited to put that one out because it's game changing. And the reason I brought that up right now is because 2025 first half is full of shock and awe and turmoil. Second half is full of sweet relief and the rainbows and unicorns that we're all looking for. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to check out my description box, my Patreon community, my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, get a reading with me. To be honest, you won't get a reading with me unless you're either my Patreon community or at least on my newsletter. I have a wait list. I have less spots than I have, me to go around. But I will be starting to refer other astrologers out on my website in the new year. So stay tuned for that as well. If I think they're good enough to send you to, I will let you know. I have some people in mind already. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, Aries.